Hello, ladies and gents. So, today I am going to be reading an anonymous story that was shared with me. It's a true story, and anonymity is going to be respected here because they requested it. So, without further ado, here's what he sent me. I wanted to respond to your video here not because I'm afraid of being judged, but because I didn't want people mistaking this as me playing the victim or looking for sympathy. You embody my entire philosophy of being a survivor, not a perpetual victim. At 3 years old, I was raped by a male babysitter. Then in my teens, I was put into the Canadian foster care system, where my sexual abusers, I make the distinction because there was a lot of physical and emotional abuse as well, were at the ratio of 1 male to 5 females. It took me years to find a great psychologist that specialized in helping men and boys who have suffered from sexual abuse/assault. And to this day, I am grateful for all the help she gave me. Unfortunately, before that, I was drawn to women that were as dysfunctional as I was. So for a lack of a better term, I'd have to say these last 8 years I've been MGTOW, not as feminists would say, but because I hate women, or because I've been hurt by women, but because I knew I still had deep-seated issues I needed to work on. And that, being in a relationship working on my issues, always gets pushed to the side and not dealt with. Hell, if it was true that I just hate women, I'd never have gotten married, and when my wife ran off and hid with our children for 6 years after I caught her cheating a second time, I would never have invested myself in 2 more long-term relationships. But then I understood even at a young age that I couldn't put what a few terrible people did to me onto the shoulders of all women. Same goes for domestic violence. I firmly believe nobody should hit anyone. Yet in all 3 of my major relationships, when the chips were down and they were either losing the argument or I said something they didn't like, the fists and whatever was in reach would start flying. According to the feminist logic that should tell me that all women are violent. According to the feminist logic that should tell me that all women are violent. Instead, what it has made me realize is that I was drawn to dysfunctional women, and instead of walking out the door when it happened, I'd rationalize their behavior and look at what I had done wrong to make them act out in such a fashion. So while I wasn't responsible for their behavior, I was enabling it by not calling it out and or getting myself out of the situation. I wouldn't call myself an MRA because the advocacy work I've done most of my life has been towards the foster care system in my country, so no more children have to be thrown from the frying pan into the fire, as well as advocacy for the mentally ill and seeing that there is adequate help and resources for those that struggle with mental illness. I myself am bipolar. If in future... Oh, there we go. That was the end of his story. It's really sad. I mean, this guy pretty much started out his life already being abused, and then the people who were supposed to help him only made it worse. And I understand where he's coming from, where he's saying that he was drawn to dysfunctional women. I know what that is, because I went through the same thing. Is that you get so used to a certain kind of behavior that that's what you're drawn to because that's what you know. And I'm proud of him for how strong he is for sharing his story. I'm proud of him for his viewpoint on it and not viewing all women as being that way. Granted, there are quite a few women out there that act like that. But he is a strong person. And I have respect for him. So, this was his story. Go ahead, leave your comments down below. And there you go. Have a nice day, guys.